Neutron 3's masking meter is an intelligent analysis and display feature that addresses a persistent issue in mixing: masking. For any mixing novices out there, in this context, masking refers to a situation where strong frequencies in one track in a mix, like booming bass notes or peaky guitar chords, may cover up those same frequencies in another track, another instrument or voice. When this happens, the track being masked may not cut through clearly enough in the mix, and its tone may be compromised. Experienced engineers and mixers spend years training their ears to be able to identify particular frequencies so they can find and address problems like this by focusing in on the offending frequency range in the problem track or in the affected track and applying appropriate EQ to reduce or eliminate any problematic masking effects. But many mixers don't have enough experience to quickly identify and address such problem frequency areas, and even the ones that do may still find it a tedious and time-consuming task that takes their focus and energy away from the more creative aspects of mixing. Enter Neutron's masking meter. This feature will analyze the audio of a track that the user feels is suffering from masking problems and another track specified by the user, one that he feels is the likely source of the problem, and present a display that identifies the potential problem areas, the frequencies where any masking is most likely occurring. The mixer can then dial up appropriate EQ adjustments to deal with the problem, and Neutron makes this even more efficient and easy to do as well. Here's how it works. Let's say you have a vocal that seems to be getting overpowered a little by some guitar chords.
It's hard to give up the fantasy that you'll be there in my time of need.
Now, of course, you could just reduce the overall level of the guitar track, but that might make the part sound too weak from a musical standpoint. So you decide you'd be better off EQing out some of the lower mid-range frequencies that you suspect are causing the masking, but you're not exactly sure which ones they are. Instead of spending a fair bit of time hunting for the best frequencies to EQ by trial and error, Masking Meter can make quick work of solving this mixing problem. First off, you'll need to have Neutron instantiated on both tracks. On the vocal track, the one being masked, go to the EQ module, and from the pop-up menu to the right of Masking, you'll choose the track you suspect of causing the masking issue. The display will show the spectrums from both the current track and the selected masking track. When you hit play, you'll see two indicators showing potential masking. In the display area, flashing lines show where masking is likely to be happening. The same information is displayed more dramatically toward the top of the display area as orange bars at any problem frequencies. The longer and brighter the bars, the greater the likelihood of masking occurring at those frequencies.
The truth is spoken in your deeds.
Just above the display area, you'll see a masking sensitivity control. As you'd expect, this adjusts the sensitivity of the masking display to make it easier to see any masked frequencies. I find that I sometimes have to increase it from the default setting to see the orange bars at the top more clearly, but if you do turn it up, don't overdo it, or you might be overwhelmed with too much information. Once you're confident the masking meter has identified the problem area, or areas, you can then take corrective action. Conveniently, you can do this in either track. The display lets you make EQ adjustments not only to the current track you're on, but also to the masking track without having to open that plugin window directly. You just select the track you want to make the adjustments to at the bottom. This is a really terrific convenience, especially on smaller monitors. In this case, the masking meter has identified the main problem in the range between around 200 to 400 Hz. Now, I could either boost those frequencies in the vocal track to overcome the masking effect from the guitar, or cut them in the guitar track. I could also split the difference. If I enable the inverse link button, then boosting in one track will create a corresponding cut in the other, and vice versa. But since boosting that range on a vocal might make the voice sound too chesty, I'll just cut in the guitar track from right here. I can easily bypass the EQs to compare my adjustments to the original. In fact, if I want to minimize the effect on the guitar tone throughout the rest of the track, I could set up the cut as a dynamic EQ band in the guitar track EQ. I'll select the band in the guitar track EQ, enable dynamic mode, and set the sidechain to control the band dynamically from the appropriate external EQ band. Since I'm making the setting in the guitar track EQ, that would be the vocal track EQ band that corresponds to the problem frequency range. With the correct settings made, the guitar track EQ will now dip the offending frequencies by the amount I've set whenever the vocal sings in that range.
It's hard to give up the fantasy that you'll be there in my time of need. But I know that it's a fallacy. The truth is spoken in your deeds.
And problem solved. The vocal floats above the guitar more easily, and the guitar still keeps its thicker sound when the vocalist isn't singing to fill out the mix, as it should. Now, of course, all this could have been accomplished without the masking meter, but it certainly made the process a whole lot faster and more efficient. Next up, the Track Enhance feature.